battle, WikiLeaks announced that its founder, Julian Assange, has left the UK following an agreement with US authorities in which he will plead guilty to criminal charges and be freed. Assange faced charges of conspiracy to obtain and disclose national defense information related to WikiLeaks' publication of files about the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, which the U.S. claimed endangered lives. He spent the last 5 years in a British prison, contesting his extradition to the U.S. And now taking a quick look at the weather here. It's currently 27 degrees Celsius under cloudy skies. The skies are forecast to clear out by late afternoon. And that'll have to do it for this hour's news. Thank you for joining us. You're listening to BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Your best choice. BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Coming up next is 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Do you ever think you should eat healthier? Do you have this thought where you're like, I should really eat more greens and all that good stuff, but I hate it all? And it might feel even kind of childish to say, but you really don't like vegetables. I wish health food didn't taste like health food. Well, maybe that will become a reality soon. So today we're going to talk about how some of the foods people probably don't want to eat might get a whole lot more appealing soon through science. It's Tuesday, June 25th. This is the 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. Let's get it started.
She's drinking pina colada.
Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. You just heard California Girl by Crash Adams. Crash Adams is a Canadian pop music duo from Toronto, and they're most known, perhaps, as being Juno Award nominees for Breakthrough Group of the Year at the Juno Awards of 2024. So, new. That's pretty new. During a performance recently, I guess in Singapore, they explained that their name comes from some movie about a doctor that heals his patients with laughter and positivity and good vibrations. And you might be thinking, oh yeah, that sounds kind of familiar. That's because it's probably referring to the movie Patch Adams. So this band is Crash Adams. They didn't say it exactly, but you can probably guess that their name is based on Patch Adams. If you're not familiar, that's an American movie starring Robin Williams about an actual real-life doctor who did try to heal his patients with laughter. So yeah, there you go. A little bit of a knowledge about Crash Adams, somebody you're probably going to hear a lot more about in the near future, I guess. So we're coming to you from the studio here in Busan today, this Tuesday afternoon. We're at BEFM 90.5 here in Busan and 103.3 FM in Gijang, Jeongwan, and Noksan. And in Seoul, we're on TBS EFM 101.3 FM. And in Gwangju, we're on GFN 98.7 FM. Hello to wherever you might be. Norok to my friends from visiting from Moldova. Of course, if you wanted to catch us on YouTube, you can do so right now. I was talking about the very top of the show. I was talking about greens and vegetables that people might not know we eat. And suddenly, I don't know what happened in the studio. There's some greenery that just appeared out of nowhere. Amazing. So if you want to check us out on YouTube, of course, just go to YouTube and you can search BEFM or Busan영어방송 there. However, when we do play music, there is a music copyright issue, so we'll have to mute the streaming of the songs, but you, of course, can hear the rest of the show. And if you want to listen to the show in its entirety with the music, of course, you can hear us on FM radio. Or if you go to your app store on your smartphone, you can download our smartphone app there. You can just search BEFM or 부산영어방송, and you can download that and listen to the show in its entirety. You can even put us in your pocket and walk around. It's kind of cool, right? And you can send us messages on there too. So it's very cool. We apologize for the inconvenience with the YouTube streaming situation, and we do hope that gets fixed soon. Because, I mean, we've got all this lush greenery we want you to see as well. It's beautiful in the studio. So I feel like I'm outdoors suddenly. Yes. Take a look. So coming up on the show today, we've got a lot for you on this Tuesday. In hour number 1, we do this every day. We've got Hot Off the Press coming up, and that is where we play 2 new tracks that have been recently released, and we'll give you some background information about the artist and the track. And then after that, we've got Officially Amazing with a special guest today. And Officially Amazing, we talk about some amazing people or things that have happened or accomplishments, and we do that every Tuesday. In hour number 2, we'll have our daily list, and you might be able to guess what I'm talking about today. Something that people don't want to eat. I don't know why. Actually, I was playing the devil's advocate when I was introducing the topic today. I love vegetables. I eat all kinds of them. But I have plenty of my cousins. I guess they might be kind of typical Americans this way. They're like, vegetables, get them out of here. And I don't know why that is, but a lot of people really don't like eating the really healthy stuff for you. So today we're actually going to talk about something interesting. And one reason that this came up is about GMOs, genetically modified organisms, in this case, crops or plants. And we're going to talk about some of the most consumed GMOs and whether people want to eat those or not. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, some people find it to be a controversial topic, genetically modified anything. And I understand there's always concern when science gets involved changing things. People get worried. So we'll talk about that a little bit today. And then on Tomorrow Today, we're going to talk about some future developments. And these are related to that. So one of the things that I read recently was that some gene-edited salad greens are going to hit the market in the U.S. And I was wondering how that would go over if they were introduced here in Korea. Do people trust these gene-edited goods or products or crops? I don't know. I have a feeling that maybe those would not go over so well. So I'm curious to see what you think about that. And then finally, we'll have our perfect playlist today. We picked the best songs for every situation. The situation this week, we're thinking about sunrise, something I hope to see a lot of this summer. I don't want to waste my summer sleeping too late. I want to get up early and see the sunrise every day. That's my goal. Yeah, how about you? You got any summertime goals? I'm curious. Yeah, this is my goal. I don't want to wake up too late every day and miss half of the day. That has been the pattern for the past few summers, it seems like. But back to my question earlier. I was thinking about genetically modified foods, not what you see here on YouTube. These are not real. These are not real, I promise you. I'm not going to eat them. There's no stunts going on today. But I was thinking about these genetically modified foods that are becoming more and more commonplace. Are you okay with eating them? Are you willing to try them? Or are you kind of like, oh, I'm not sure. So, 유전자 변형 식품을 먹어도 괜찮으신가요? I'm curious. Are you okay with trying new kind of genetically modified things, or are you like, no, not for me? You can send me your answer at 샵9050 or pound 9050 for 101, or you can reach us for free, of course, if you go to Kakao Talk and just search BEFM or Busan 영어방송 there, add us, and you can send us a message for free. And as I mentioned before, if you go to the App Store on your phone, you can find our BEFM smartphone app. If you just search BEFM or Busan 영어방송 there, you can download the smartphone app, log in, and then send us a comment. And hello to Charlie saying hi there on the tube. Cool. Welcome to the show. So think about it. If there's something, newly introduced into the markets and it's like, well, science says this has been made better for you in some way, is it something you're willing to try? Or are you like, no, keep that away from me. I like my food all natural. What kind of person are you? I'm curious. So we're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to Glad You Came, because I am glad you came. Thanks for joining the show. We're going to listen to Glad You Came by Jason Derulo, and then we'll be back with Hot Off the Press.
Derulo.
Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard Glad You Came by Jason Derulo. Really upbeat number there. Nice way to get us going in this Tuesday afternoon. But now it is time for Hot Off the Press. And this is something we do every Monday through Friday. We bring you two of the newest, hottest songs that have just recently been released. And there's so many to keep up with. So we do our best to pick some ones that we think you'll enjoy and probably will hear a lot more of soon. Our first song for today is Double Life by Pharrell Williams. If you're not familiar with Pharrell Williams, you probably have heard something he has worked on, whether it's his solo project or whether it's something he produces. He's a very multi-talented artist. And this time he's teamed up again with the Despicable Me franchise. I believe Happy was like that big song that he had with them previously, right? But this time he's bringing his unique flair to the soundtrack of Despicable Me 4. Already 4 of those movies. Wow. This is his latest single called Double Life, and it was released on June 14th, 2024. The song is already generating a lot of buzz and excitement among fans of both Pharrell and the beloved animated series. So his previous collaboration with Despicable Me was that huge hit Happy that was inescapable in 2014. So perhaps 10 years later, it's time to do it again. I guess he's trying again. We'll see how this one goes over. Our second song for today is Look Who's Laughing Now by Benjamin Ingrosso. And Benjamin Ingrosso has gained a lot of fame, a lot of name recognition, both in Sweden and Europe since he debuted at Eurovision in 2018. And he placed 7th there when it was held in Lisbon. This year, Benjamin is back on the Eurovision stage as one of the interval acts at the first semifinal of the 2025 Eurovision Song Contest. And if you're not familiar, Eurovision is a huge deal in Europe. It's hard to explain how big it is. I think a lot of people in North America have no idea, but Eurovision is huge in Europe. And what he did there was he performed a medley of his hits, including this brand new single, Look Who's Laughing Now. He said of this song, it celebrates being authentic and enjoying life regardless of others' perceptions. It's a nod to all who doubted us, proving that we can be ourselves, live our best lives, and still come out as winners. It's all about embracing our imperfections, living life to the fullest, and showing the world that authenticity wins. Wow, that's a lot to say in one song. So that's going to be our second song, actually, in Hot Off the Press for today. First up, we've got Double Life by Pharrell Williams, followed by Look Who's Laughing Now by Benjamin Ingrosso.
Look who's laughing now.
Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard Look Who's Laughing Now by Benjamin Ingrosso, and I think I'm going to be going oh for a while after hearing that. And before that, you heard Double Life by Pharrell Williams, and those are our two songs for Hot Off the Press today. I hope you enjoyed those. And I want to say hello to Mr. Lee Kelly, who's saying what's up out there and showing some love for Robin Williams, because I was talking about the movie Patch Adams a little while ago. Yeah, Robin Williams, definitely missed by a lot of people, I think. A lot of people enjoyed his movies for sure. I also want to say hi to 1656nim, who says, I haven't tried genetically modified foods, but I think it'll be fine as long as it doesn't cause problems with my body. That's like pretty good. That's a good way to live, I think. Try anything as long as it doesn't cause problems with your body. I guess that's a good way to live, a good rule of thumb. So also 5921 Nim says I am not ready yet. I am 64 years old. It did look pretty good, but that's all I care about. I think food should be opened, chewed, tasted, and enjoyed. I think this is the answer. So that sounds like actually you're willing to try genetically modified foods. To me, any kind of food, if you enjoy it. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm not sure. I'm on the fence. And sometimes I read things about genetically modified foods where people protest. For example, there was a big protest in Thailand years back because of some variety of papaya that was being trialed, I guess, in the local forest there. And they were like, no, get it out of here. So people get very upset about this kind of thing when something new is introduced, right? So we're talking about genetically modified organisms, GMOs as it's commonly called, but specifically food, things we can eat. So my question of the day is, are you okay with eating genetically modified foods? 유전자 변형 식품을 먹어도 괜찮으신가요? So if you have an answer, let me know. I'm curious what people think out there. Shop 9050 or pound 9050 will cost you just 101 if you want to send us a message that way. Or you can reach us for free on Kakao Talk. Just search BEFM or Busan영어방송 in Korean there. You can add us and send us a message for free. Or you can download the smartphone app if you search BEFM or Busan영어방송 in the App Store on your phone. And you can listen to our program, of course, and leave us messages after you log in there. So I'm curious what Matthew's got to say about this. Matthew's in the studio with us today for Officially Amazing. And we'll be right back with Matthew. And I'm going to ask his opinion about genetically modified foods. All right, welcome back. This is Officially Amazing, and Matthew's in the studio with us today, filling in for Melissa. Good afternoon, Matthew.
Good afternoon, Casey. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Last week, perhaps.
Yeah, I see him all the time.
Yes, we do work together, so we do see each other quite a bit. And you're here, of course, filling in for Melissa for now, and you're going to talk about some amazing things or amazing people or amazing things that are happening in the world.
Yep.
But one amazing thing that's happening in the news that I saw is a new brand of genetically modified food.
Okay.
Specifically salad. Some kind of salad.
Genetically modified salad?
Yes. So yeah, they're using gene editing to make salad more palatable, more delicious to a lot of people. Because a lot of people get picky about salad, I guess. Not enough people, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Would you try it? Would you try something that's newly genetic modified? Or are you like,
In theory, I don't like the idea.
Yeah.
But in practice, absolutely.
Okay.
Because, I mean, most of what we eat is pretty processed already.
Sure.
So I don't see what the big deal is. I feel like I either want to go all one way,
right,
be completely natural, or what are you going to do?
Good luck.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You know Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Are you familiar with him?
The astrophysicist.
Exactly. He's a very smart person, much smarter than I. And somebody was actually asking him about this very topic recently, and I saw him talking about it. Probably streaming, I think, is what I saw. And he was basically like, at this point in human, where we're at with what we eat and human development and agriculture, it's too late. We've already modified everything to the extent you can't go back to what's originally natural.
Right.
There are some exceptions, perhaps, like heirloom varieties of things, but even those, humans would probably tainted in some way.
Right. I'm actually quite excited for artificial meat.
Oh, are you?
Well, because I think it'll be good for the environment.
That's the idea, right?
Right. So, I don't know. In an ideal world, I won't be eating GMOs.
Right.
But in this world, it's okay with me.
This world is not ideal. We have to admit it sometimes,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
All right, well, cool. So there you go. Like, I totally understand. I think I see both sides of the fence as well. But, of course, you're here for Officially Amazing today. So what are we going to learn about an Officially Amazing?
So today we're going to talk about some recent news and recent events involving the Guinness World Records.
Oh, I'm familiar.
The Guinness Book of World Records. I was a big fan of that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I have to say, when I started to do the research for this program,
Yeah.
I was kind of blown away by how much stuff is happening in the world
Yeah.
that I was completely unaware of.
Right.
And people doing really strange but amazing things.
Right.
And I was like, wow. And if it weren't for this program, I never would have known a lot of this stuff.
So thanks to BEFM,
Yes.
right, for enriching Matthew's life.
Yeah, I was quite shocked and pleasantly.
Pleasantly shocked. Okay,
Pleasantly
because sometimes people shock you in the not so pleasant way.
Pleasantly surprised, I guess.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
what kind of things have people been up to?
So the first one is actually not a Guinness World Record,
Oh, okay.
but it was a very close miss.
Bummer for somebody.
Well, a bummer for a donkey.
A donkey.
So there's a donkey in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. That's in Canada. It's
Okay.
in the middle. It's like real country.
Sounds very Canadian. A place called Moose Jaw.
Moose Jaw, yeah.
Sounds very Canadian.
And this donkey, Bugsy, lived to the age of 55.
Okay, that sounds really old for a donkey. I don't know, but that
So
sounds
donkeys, they live a while. Normally they live 25 to 30 years.
old. Okay.
If a donkey makes it to 40, that's really old.
So 55 is
This
ancient.
donkey made it to 55.
Wow, okay.
And they went to get it listed as the Guinness World Record for the oldest donkey ever.
Right.
However, they couldn't find its birth certificate.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
because
Right,
because
so it-
yeah.
So the story is based on what the person remembered. The donkey was born in such and such a year,
Right.
but they don't actually have the paper. So he actually will not get into the Guinness World Records.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Susie from New Mexico, she made it to 54.
Oh, wow. So
She's the official oldest donkey in the world, but actually Bugsy's probably older than her.
but we have no way to prove it except for the word of, I guess, the owner.
So the owner raised it to 35.
Right.
Then they gave it to a shelter, animal sanctuary, who've been raising it for the last 20 years.
Wow.
So when
probably
they
didn't
got it,
expect-
they thought it was 35 years old
Right.
and almost dying.
Right.
Because it's old. But it's lived for another 20 years.
Can you imagine?
Unfortunately, poor Bugsy will never get in the book.
What if he just like keeps living? Like, what if he becomes like 100? You know, it's very obvious that he's way beyond the record. At some point, they have to just
have
give
to
it
just
to him.
give it to him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just take pictures of Bugsy every day.
Right.
Right. Just document him. Oh, that's too bad. Keep your birth
Okay.
certificate. That's the lesson of the story.
Yes.
All right. Very good.
Story number 2 is completely different.
Okay.
So this is about Lisa from
Oh, I'm familiar.
Blackpink.
Yeah.
Are you a Blackpink fan?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm on camera. I have to. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And she has set 9 Guinness World Records
What?
related to her social media presence.
Okay.
Right? So her most recent world record was she joined TikTok.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not on TikTok, but I know it's very popular.
I've heard of it.
And so she joined TikTok on June 19th. And in 2 hours and 18 minutes, she had 1 million followers.
Okay, that sounds like a ridiculously fast. All right, let me think about that.
So that's the record. She got to 1 million followers in the fastest time ever on TikTok.
That sounds ridiculous. Like, so many people had to be aware in under 3 hours that she just recently joined that, right? So
Yeah.
Wow, think about how many people are paying attention to her.
Yeah,
Isn't
well,
it
I'm
kinda
sure a
scary?
lot of people were like sitting at their computers,
Right.
waiting for her to join so
Right.
they could,
Right.
follow her.
Like they were just, actually probably waiting way in advance before she actually clicked the button and, officially joined the service or whatever.
Right.
But would that frighten you if that were you? I would be scared of that. Like millions of people.
If that were me,
Yeah.
yes, I think Lisa from Blackpink is probably pretty used to it.
Yeah, at this point, I guess, huh?
And actually, she beat Jungkook from BTS.
Oh, sorry, Jungkook.
It took him 2 hours and 40 minutes
Oh, so slow.
to get 1 million followers,
So
and she
slow.
beat him by 22 minutes.
Wow. That's amazing, right?
It is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not, to be honest, but I guess for her it's good. Like, that's
Yeah,
for...
It's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, that means that many people are paying attention to what she does and they really care about what she does. And that means she's got a lot of dedicated fans.
Yeah. and she's hardworking.
Yes.
A couple of her other records, like that already exist. She got the most YouTube views in a single day by a
Okay.
solo artist.
How much is that?
So in August 2020, her solo album La Lisa. This is September 2021.
Okay.
Her solo album La Lisa got 73.6 million views in one day.
Okay, that's a lot.
73.6 million in a single day.
Can you imagine? All right, so I think I'm going to check the counters. I'm going to see. We're coming for you, Lisa. Don't you worry. We're coming
Right.
up. 73.6 million.
In a 24-hour period.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Actually, Selena Gomez's Ice Cream got 79 million in a single day. So that's more. But that song featured Lisa from Blackpink.
Oh, so it's not credited
so it's
as a...
a collaboration.
Right.
Whereas Lisa's was just her. Solo.
So
she's
can-
got the solo record.
And she can take the full credit for it.
Yes.
This is not like, hey,
Nobody's
this person...
helping her out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yep. And one more record that she has. Amongst K-pop stars, she has the largest Instagram following with 103 million.
Okay, that's...
So Lisa's online presence is absolutely enormous.
Do you, at some point, do you think she'll kind of just get tired of keeping up with that? You know, and that sounds like a lot of work.
I bet she has a team.
Yeah, right. That's
So-
true.
But, she's making a lot of people happy. So
Yeah, for sure.
Good for her.
Is there anybody that you've ever followed to that extent where you like wait for everything that they do?
No.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
No.
Not Robin Williams by chance?
I do like Robin Williams.
Me too.
The thing is, YouTube kind of does a lot of the work for you.
Right.
Like if you follow somebody, YouTube just shows you the video as soon as you get on the site.
Right, and a lot of those
So
services
actually,
do
you
that
don't
now.
have to go looking for the video. The video
Comes to you?
comes to you a lot of the time. So I think these companies know how to get your followers up.
And I guess
know
that,
what I mean?
and it still counts towards your credit. Like, you know, as long as people watch it, it still counts. So whether like the company is actually helping you out by dragging people to you, I guess, yeah, it's a win-win for everybody these days. But I was thinking, like, I guess a lot of the cases, maybe I'm wrong, but Lisa seems, in my opinion, Blackpink Lisa, she probably appeals to a lot of younger people.
Yeah.
And that, that's just the norm now, like social media, everything.
Right. But actually, because the other person from Blackpink is Jennie.
Okay.
Okay. And she's kind of like the number 2 in popularity. And as I was researching this, her numbers are amazing, but they're nothing like
Really?
Lisa's.
So, but they're in the
she's
same
only
group.
got like 60 million, whereas Lisa has 103 million. That's like 43 million people.
All right. Does that cause tension within the group at some point? It must, right?
I'm
Or is
sure,
it-
I have no idea. I'm sure they're all doing well, and they're
Yeah. You think?
probably grateful.
You think they're like, oh, nee. Or,
Yeah.
잘했습니다. I wonder because sometimes a lot of especially with musicians, ego does get involved, right? And when
Yes.
you're doing something creative together and somebody's doing way better than everybody else, you could get resentful. But I hope that's not the case. Of course, we hope all is well in the Blackpink camp, right?
Yes.
Well, cool. That's very interesting information. And I see, actually, by coincidence, I don't think so. We're going to take a quick song break with the song La Lisa by Lisa.
Lisa.
Well planned. That's cool, because I'm actually not familiar with the song. So we'll take a listen to that, and then we'll come back with more Officially Amazing with Matthew.
내 뒷모습만
La Lisa by Lisa. So that was a nice transition to our next part of Officially Amazing. Before the break, we were talking about Lisa and her amazing records that she holds on SNS, all that kind of stuff. And also we were talking about why it's important to keep your birth certificate, because if you ever want to become officially the oldest something, you have to be able to prove it,
yes.
right?
Yep.
So we're back with Matthew and more Officially Amazing. What's up next, Matthew?
So another completely different topic.
Oh, okay.
It's about the London Marathon.
Oh, okay. I guess held every year?
Yeah, every April.
Okay.
And it's one of the biggest marathons in the world,
I should
along
know
with
that.
like the New York Marathon, the Boston Marathon. And actually, this kind of has a special place in my heart.
Oh, okay.
Sort of. Because the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life was the New York Marathon.
Oh, I've been there as well.
You have been there?
Yeah.
So-
what year? Oh, man. Oh, if we were there the same year, that would be kind of cool.
I was there in, I think, 2005.
Okay. I was there later. I saw Jon Stewart did like the opening, like when they did the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
The comedian Jon Stewart, he gave like the opening, I wouldn't call it a speech. It was just a bunch of jokes. He's a very funny guy.
Did
And
you run it?
No,
Oh,
actually, my
okay.
brother was participating because they do I'm not sure what the official term is, but maybe the para marathon. So my brother he did like the wheelchair race.
Oh, okay.
Where they've got like they go so fast. It's crazy how fast they go. It's like wheelchairs that are very low to the ground.
Right,
They're modified.
aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just watching him go around turns, I was like, ugh. So yeah, I was only on the sidelines, but it was really fun thing to watch.
Yeah. So my sister ran it that year. That's why I went. And we were at the 19-mile mark, which, if you know kilometers, that's roughly 45 kilometers.
That sounds far.
And
Is this in Central Park?
It's the whole city because it's a
okay.
marathon.
Okay,
It's really
gotcha.
long. Anyway, the leaders of the New York Marathon, who are some of the best runners in the world,
Right.
I saw them at the 19-mile mark. That's like the 45-kilometer mark. They were absolutely flying.
Right.
They are so fast. And if you see it on TV, you really don't appreciate it.
Right.
And I was just absolutely amazed.
Right.
So I love marathons because I saw up close how absolutely amazing what they do is.
Yeah, what you have to do to your body to prepare for it is extreme, right?
Right.
Like you can't, I guess your whole diet changes. Your exercise regime for every day is very intense, right?
No MGOs.
No
GMOs.
Or no MGOs as well.
Okay.
Both of MGOs, GMOs, all of them out the window.
Right.
Yeah, I imagine like you just have to be in a constant state of your peak physical condition. I can't imagine what that feels like ever.
Right.
Not even for one day.
Now,
Wow.
back to the topic of Guinness records.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a bonanza. There were 44 Guinness records broken at this year's London Marathon.
Wow, that sounds abnormal to me. That sounds like a lot to be broken in one year.
Well, it's about the British marathon culture. Are you
Okay.
familiar with it?
no.
British people love dressing up in weird costumes
When
and
they
doing
run?
marathons.
Okay.
So a friend of mine who lives in Busan, his name's Storm. Maybe some people know Storm.
Okay.
We did a run together in Gyeongju, and he showed up dressed as a giant clown. And I was like, what are you doing?
Right.
But he's British. Apparently in Britain, this is like,
that's the thing to do.
that's the thing to do. That's what they love to do.
All right, cool.
So a lot of the records are broken around what it is they're wearing.
Most ridiculous, perhaps? Is that a
Well, they're all
record?
categories,
Right.
So I'm going to start. The first two are not actually related to costumes.
Okay.
The first one, Perez Jepchirchir
Okay.
from Kenya. If I mispronounce her name, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna tell.
Perez Jepchirchir. She ran the fastest time ever in a women's only marathon.
Okay. And then what would be like a fast time? I have like no sense of like what
It
that
was
would be.
2 hours, 16 minutes, and 16 seconds.
Oh, so she beat Lisa's record. She got, yeah, right? Lisa's 2 hours, 18 minutes. Take that, Lisa.
Yeah, she ran the marathon
Yeah.
faster than Lisa got 1 million followers on TikTok.
That's fast.
That is very fast.
That is fast.
So she said that. The second one is quite impressive as well. Jonah Asto has multiple sclerosis. And he ran it in 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 50 seconds.
Wow. Man.
And
it-
it's still
so-
extremely fast. And multiple sclerosis is a physical disease.
Right.
So I have enormous respect for that guy.
Of course.
That's really hard to do.
And I was just thinking, like marathons, they typically have a standard distance, right? Like,
Well, they're an exact distance.
Must be, right?
Yeah, they're
What'd you say it was?
26.2 miles.
right.
and I'm going to try to do my math really quickly. That's
Got it.
roughly 56 kilometers.
Sounds right to me. Ding, ding, ding.
Don't quote me on that,
ding,
but
ding,
that's
ding.
roughly 56
I
kilometers.
can look it up. All right. So
Okay.
what is 26.2?
Yeah, 26.2 miles.
All right, I gotcha.
Sorry, we're Americans.
I mistyped it, I guess, because I've got 11,207 kilometers.
It's definitely not.
I'm definitely not good at using the. Okay, so I'll get it. You know what? It's converting meters to kilometers because it thinks nobody uses miles anymore.
Right.
So it's 42. Actually, 42.
Okay.
0.16481 kilometers.
Okay, sorry, my math. Yeah, but so 42
I believed you,
kilometers.
though.
Okay.
I shouldn't have fact checked you.
So the first two were kind of normal ones, and then 3 and 4 are more of the silly ones.
Okay.
So a man named Lee Bainton ran the marathon in an inflatable costume.
Why would you
So
do that?
an inflatable.
Would you
He was a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh, okay. That's why you would do that because
That's
it's
one of the
funny.
famous. It's funny,
It's funny to watch.
and he ran it in 3 hours and 21 minutes.
Think about how impressive that is to like flop around with what are those like inflatable? You know, the arms are flailing, the head's probably flailing.
Yeah, and
For
he
3
did it
hours.
for 3 hours.
I can't imagine.
And he said, about halfway through, he was absolutely roasting.
Oh, but all right.
Just so hot in there. So,
Right.
it was fun. He loved doing it. But by the time he was done, he was like, I just want to finish.
What a terrible idea I had.
But he broke the record. The record already existed, and he broke it. And the last one is the fastest time ever as a video game character.
Oh, okay. So
So a
something.
man ran the marathon as Mario,
Okay.
and he finished in 2 hours and 57 minutes.
All right. Wow. So that's Mario making the rounds as well for 42 kilometers.
Yeah, and Mario beat the inflatable Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Of course he did. It's much easier to run around in Mario, I'm
by-
guessing, right?
A good 24 minutes. Yeah.
That's very impressive. And Matthew, this has been a fascinating look into the marathon world. I had no idea all of this was going on with marathons. So
Yeah.
I learned a little bit about British culture, in fact, today.
Yeah, they love that stuff.
Yeah, you know what? I've got a couple of British people I can inquire about this with. I want to know, can you explain why?
And if you want to get in the Guinness Book World Records, run a marathon and dress as something really strange. It's probably
Yeah.
the easiest way to do it.
Because there's all kinds of categories you could fit into. It could be inflatable costume. It could be a video game character. Who knows what
Movie
category?
character.
Movie character.
That was
is
just
another one?
broken by a man in Columbus, Ohio this year.
There you go.
He was Elf, the Will Ferrell movie?
Yeah, right.
So he ran a half marathon as Elf.
So-
he didn't make the cut for this story, but
All you got to do is run the full marathon as Elf.
As Elf,
and you
yes.
take the title now, right?
Yeah.
It's that simple. This is how these records get broken.
Right.
Take somebody else's idea, improve on it, right? All right. Well, Matthew, that has been a lot of fun. And of course, you're going to be back next week to do this again, right?
yep.
Awesome.
Be here
So Matthew is here for Officially Amazing, and we'll be back. We're going to take a quick song break. This is going to be Running on Empty by Jackson Brown. Good choice, Running on Empty after a marathon. And we'll be back at 3 p.m.
부산영어방송.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전 기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Electric kickboards and electric bicycles are common on the streets these days. With the increased use of personal mobility devices, the number of accidents and deaths have reportedly increased significantly.
Personal Mobility Patrol Mode.
I don't need to wear a safety helmet because I'm only riding a short distance.
Wear a safety helmet. When you drive your personal mobility devices, you have to wear a safety helmet.
Hey, I rented an electric kickboard. Let's ride it together.
Okay, you drive in the front, I'll get in the back.
Follow the number of passengers. Only one person can ride an electric kickboard and electric wheel parallel car.
Follow the rules of personal mobility devices and drive safely. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
The time is now 3 o'clock.
All right, welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. We are now in hour 2 of the show with Love Shack by the B-52s to kick it off. That's a fun song to listen to any time of day. I'm not going to lie. I was singing along. I know a lot of the lyrics to that song. In case you are not familiar with Love Shack, the idea of that song is kind of a state of mind. It's a place where people of all stripes go for a groovy good time. And the band, the B-52s, drew inspiration for this idea of a club from the movie The Color Purple, interesting, and also from a real club outside of Athens, Georgia, where I think they are perhaps, if not originally from, perhaps where they started. There was a place called the Hawaiian Hale, and that's where they would hang out a lot apparently. And it was a kind of cool place that would bring people from all over, hippies, scenesters, hipsters, I imagine, as well, and a lot of students from the nearby University of Georgia. Athens, Georgia, also famous as a place that REM, the band, came from, right around the same time, too. The drummer for the B-52s, his name is Keith Strickland. He also said that there were a lot of keg parties out in the country, and that might have been another inspiration for that song. Whatever the inspiration was, it sounds like a good time, right? Well, of course, we're having a good time here in Busan on this Tuesday afternoon. We're here at BEFM 90.5 in Busan. And if you're in Gijang, Jeongwan, and Noksan areas, you're listening to us on 103.3 FM. In Seoul, we're on TBS EFM 101.3 FM. And in Gwangju, we're on GFN 98.7 FM. Hello to everybody. Hello, wherever you may be. Thanks for joining us. Got a couple messages I wanted to mention really quick. Thanks to Choi Hisuk Nims for good afternoon to you. Thanks for the good afternoon. And we were talking earlier about GMOs, genetically modified organisms and foods, the things you eat, right? Choi Hisuk Nim asking, is it not okay if you eat everything in moderation? That's a good question. Yes, I guess that is probably how we try to do everything, right? Everything in moderation. GMOs, I'm pretty sure they're everywhere. Probably hard to avoid at this point. And yes, as long as we try to balance what we eat and perhaps the more natural, quote unquote, foods with the things that have been a little more manipulated, maybe that's the way to go about it. That's kind of what Matthew and I were talking about before in the first hour as well. Try to eat natural food as much as possible or less processed food as much as possible. But genetically modified, I think that genie is out of the bottle. Perhaps it's a little too late, right? And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit more in hour 2. Coming up next, we've got our daily list. And this is what we're going to talk about today exactly. Some of the 10 most consumed genetically modified crops in the United States, and I assume in other places as well. And I wonder if that's the case here in Korea too. I know there are certain protection kind of laws in different countries. Depending on where you live, they might reject certain kinds of genetically modified foods or gene-edited foods. So I'm curious, do we think we're eating some of these things here in Korea too? And then after that, after the daily list, we'll go to Tomorrow Today, and we're going to talk about some future developments with food technology that might be coming to a supermarket near us, perhaps in the near future as well. And then finally, for the second hour, we're going to finish with our perfect playlist. The theme for this week is sunrise. And we've got I'm excited. Some of my favorite artists actually had songs about sunrise I was completely unaware of. So I'm interested to share those with you as well. I'm excited to hear those. And of course, back to the question of the day today. Are you personally okay with eating genetically modified foods? 유전자 변형 식품을 먹어도 괜찮으신가요? All right, okay, I got to the end of that. So if you have an answer, I'm curious. Send us a message at 샵9050 or pound 9050 for 101. And of course, you can reach us for free via Kakao Talk, or if you go download our smartphone app on your app store. Got a couple messages I would like to get to here real quick. Lee Kelly Nim saying, talking about the B-52s, I believe. Thankfully, they as a band didn't bomb like the plane. Yes. The B-52s, huge from that song, but actually they kind of had like different phases where they got popular and then kind of became a little more obscure again. Rock Lobster is probably like the first big song that they didn't bomb with. And that's another fun song. So if you've never heard that one, Rock Lobster's another good classic B-52 song. Thanks, Lee Kelly Nim, for checking in there. And Jack Kim Nim also saying, congrats on being a host. Oh, thanks. I've been having a lot of fun. I hope you've been enjoying the 2 p.m. reboot with me as well. And Jack Kim saying, it's a good idea. If you want to break a new record, this is the idea. Take somebody's half marathon record and then build on that. Take that and make it to a full marathon. So if you read in the Guinness records, somebody's run a half marathon as an elf. Okay, cool. I'm going to do the full marathon as an elf. And then boom. Should be an instant record, right? This is how records keep getting broken, right? Nobody comes up with like a completely brand new idea out of nowhere, right? I guess. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. Give it a try. If you want to dress up like Elf, the next time you find out there's a full marathon going up, check it out. Give it a try. And contact Guinness, of course. Make sure you get evidence. Make sure you have your birth certificate. Take lots of pictures. I don't know what else they need, but they have to verify, right? Ben also checking in with, I am fine with the consumption of all kinds of altered food. Cool, okay. As long as it doesn't modify me and others for that matter in any negative way. And I think that's where the fear kind of creeps in about anything that's called genetically modified. It sounds a little scary. It sounds like the professor in the scary science lab, recreating monsters or making some kind of weird creatures from the X-Files. Yeah, I guess that's where people get a little bit nervous about genetically modified foods. Is it going to do something with me? But I mean, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some commonly genetically modified foods that people probably have been eating already. And we'll see. We'll see what you think. We'll see if you would want to eat that or not. So yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that today. Please send me your messages. Yes, I'll definitely get to all of them. Thank you so much for tuning in. But I want to take another quick song break. Well, I've got so many cool songs I want to share with you today. This is like 80s new wave playlist. Next up, we've got the Talking Heads with Burning Down the House. Enjoy this, and we'll be back with our daily list. All right, welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. You just heard Burning Down the House by Talking Heads. And if you've never seen the film Stop Making Sense, I highly recommend it. It's a very enjoyable live concert film where you get to see that song performed as well as many other classic Talking Head songs. But that's not what we're here for right now. We're here for the Daily List. And today's list, something I wanted to share because I was completely unaware. Next time I go back to the United States, I'm going to check my fruit carefully and vegetables carefully. These are 10 of the most consumed genetically modified crops in the U.S. And is it something to be scared about? No, perhaps not. But is it something good to know? I think so. You should know where your food comes from and perhaps who's growing it and what they're doing to it. I think that's always good to be informed. And according to a report by McKinsey, which is a kind of well-known research organization, basically, if we want to have sustainable farming practices and get to these global decarbonization goals that every country says they want to get to, one big thing that will have to change is agriculture. And a lot of the major players in the agriculture industry are embracing changes, let's say, to make farming more sustainable. And a lot of times what that does means using genetic modification to either make crops more disease resistant or not needing herbicides or pesticides or harmful chemicals that people are obviously rightfully concerned about eating, because we don't want to eat chemicals that kill things, right? It's probably not good for us too. So that's where a lot of this motivation comes from in many cases. So these are 10 things that are commonly consumed in the U.S., and I'm curious if you think they're commonly consumed here as well. Number 10 on the list, we're going to do a Casey Kasem style countdown. This is Casey doing the countdown for you. We're going to start at number 10, papaya. And that's something I actually don't see in the grocery store or the market here very often, but occasionally I do see papayas. And basically, genetically modified papayas were first introduced and produced in the United States in 1996 and very popular apparently in the United States. The idea was to make them resistant to something called ring spot virus, which basically has decimated papaya trees in a lot of countries. And they first tested them and developed them in Hawaii. A scientist working there with Cornell University had success with genetic modification, came up with something called rainbow papayas, and I wanted to see what they look like, so I actually searched it. Yeah, it's not the papaya I'm familiar with. If you've never had a papaya, it's an interesting flavor to begin with. It's a little unfamiliar for me. It's definitely kind of a tropical flavor, but not like a lot of other tropical fruits, or it might even be considered a vegetable. It looks kind of like a melon, but not quite. It's got tons of seeds in the middle. And I kind of feel like it's a little bit unfamiliar to Korean cuisine, but I could be wrong. The papaya I've seen in Korea does not look like the rainbow variety. And basically what it is a mix of two different varieties of papaya to create this virus-resistant tree. So in that case, genetic modification doesn't seem to be in any kind of extreme way. It's just crossbreeding is how I understand it. However, as I was talking about in the first hour, people in Thailand were very upset with introducing this rainbow papaya to Thailand back in 2004, I believe. And there was a huge protest at that time. So when these kinds of new crops get introduced, people do start to question, hey, wait a minute, what's going on with our food? And when you mess with the food, people get angry. So that's first on the list, or number 10 on the list, actually, papaya. Number 9 of the most consumed genetically modified crops in the U.S. is squash. And for me, you can have it. Squash is not my favorite thing to eat. Squash is anything from zucchini to summer squash, the kind of yellow variety. I believe ehobak, perhaps, in Korean. Or yes, I think that's the one. Ehobak is that long one, right? That long green one. Not my favorite thing to eat. If they could genetically modify it to make it taste better, I would eat it more. If it's not in doenjang jjigae, I'm probably not going to eat it. So that's how I feel about it. But I do understand that a lot of people do enjoy squash, I assume. It's a big seller. It's one of the most consumed genetically modified crops in the U.S., and it's actually been around about the same time, since 1994 to 1996. And they say there's like 25,000 acres of farmland that produce this genetically modified squash just in the United States. That's a lot. And the reason they did this one, again, it was to make it disease resistant. especially to yellow mosaic virus, which sounds like something you don't want to have on your food, and also watermelon mosaic virus. So this is the idea, to make it more disease resistant so we can enjoy these things, and hopefully at a lower cost too, because when things get wiped out by disease, they get very expensive. Number 8 on the list is apples. All right, and I'm going to be honest, this one kind of creeps me out a little bit. Genetically modified apples in the U.S. are very popular. It's approved by the FDA, by the way. I saw that chat kind of going on in the tube there. A lot of these times, these things do have to be approved by the Food and Drug Administration in the U.S., so it does go through some steps to make sure that it is safe for people to eat. The FDA says it's safe. These apples in particular, they were approved in 2015. The DNA has been changed to prevent the browning of the apple. So even after you cut it open, it doesn't turn brown. That kind of creeps me out a little bit. I don't like eating brown apples per se, but it does seem a little bit weird for me to be able to like cut an apple open and leave it on the counter and it just stays the same. Okay, that's when I'm kind of like, all right, is that good? Is that good for us? I don't know. So number 7 on the list is potatoes, and this was one I was unaware of. Apparently, these were approved by the FDA in the United States in 2015, but according to this information, currently genetically modified potatoes are not available for food, but only for industrial use. I don't know what that means, because I don't know what else to do with a potato besides eat it. I mean, and you're supposed to strap them to your feet and walk on them, I'm not sure, or use them as a weapon of some sort. I don't know what industrial use you might have for potatoes, but that's apparently what it's approved for. And really interesting change for potatoes, they're resistant to bruising, and they produce a lesser amount of a cancer-causing chemical called acrylamide. And that makes me a little nervous about eating potatoes, period. So I didn't realize that was going on with potatoes. Number 6 on the list is sugar beets, and actually they say since 2008, the United States has been producing genetically modified sugar beets. More than half of the granulated sugar in the U.S. comes from those sugar beets. And what do they do here? They genetically modified sugar beets to produce, I guess, modifying their genomes. And I guess perhaps the idea is to increase the sugar production. I'm not sure. It's not clear. However, they did say due to certain safety concerns, the production and use of genetically modified sugar beets was stopped for a period of time and then resumed in 2011. So I want to know, what were those safety concerns, right? Why did they stop? Yeah, that's the important part, right? Tell me why. Number 5 on the list, this one I was well aware of, is canola. And canola oil is huge definitely in North America. They say 90% of the canola consumed in the United States is produced by the process of genetic modification. I think that term canola actually means that it is genetically modified, from what I remember. And basically, what are you using that for? Cooking oil, also for making margarine, emulsifiers. And why did they modify canola to be what it is? Genetically modified to be herbicide tolerant. So that means when they spray it with herbicides, it doesn't get killed as well. I don't kind of like that idea, because that means you're going to probably be eating more herbicide, right? So I don't know about that one. Number 4 is alfalfa. This is something predominantly used for livestock animals. I've eaten alfalfa. It's that little kind of curly little veggie. Kind of looks like one of these up here in front of me, maybe. Not that tall. Alfalfa has a ton of various ingredients or nutrients that we need: calcium, phosphorus, potassium, and iron. In 2011, the Food and Drug Administration approved the use of genetically modified alfalfa, which is also resistant to herbicide. And they said safe to use for livestock animals like cattle. So does that mean safe for people? I don't know. Is there a line between what's safe for people and us? Or people and animals? Because we're all animals, right? Number 3 on the list is cotton. I'm wearing some cotton today, I can tell you. Cotton has a big problem, bugs, and it's actually been genetically modified to create a toxin that can kill the bollworm. And if you're ever familiar, if you've ever been to the southeast of the United States, especially like Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina area, there's still a lot of cotton that grows there. And boll weevil is a term you might hear every now and then down there. It's a kind of bug that just destroys cotton, and I guess they've modified it so that cotton can kill the bug. That frightens me a little bit. Number 2 is soybeans. And this is one I'm especially curious about Korea. Do we eat genetically modified soybeans in Korea? Is that allowed? I'm curious because in the United States, it is the second largest genetically modified crop, and they are produced for everything, for animal feed, for soybean oil. They say soybean oil accounts for approximately 61% of Americans' vegetable oil consumption. So a lot of that's probably genetically modified. I don't see any particular reasons for the genetic modification. I assume the usual disease resistance and perhaps herbicide resistance. But they say actually there are 20 genetically modified varieties of soybean in the United States. So that's a whole lot of different kinds floating around there. I wonder what they're up to there. Number one on the list, this one did not surprise me except for one reason. Corn. Corn, I've always assumed corn is genetically modified because it grows like too perfectly. You can see the difference between what you see in the store and if you try to grow it on your own or on small farms. It looks very, very different. There are 33 varieties of genetically modified corn in the United States, and it's used for everything in American food. It's used for all kinds of processed food, high fructose corn syrup, which is in almost everything, probably soda, everything, right? Also cornstarch. And they say genetically modified corn is also used to feed livestock, so animals like cows and all that stuff. Converted into biofuel, I'm okay with it. Burn it. That's okay with that. I'm okay with that too. But also used as corn on the cob. That's the one you hold it on both sides, put some butter on top, and that's corn on the cob. So I assumed that was probably genetically modified. It just like looks too perfect. Other varieties of corn I've seen outside of the United States especially do not look like that. So there you go. Those are some commonly sold and I guess used genetically modified crops in the United States. And I think a lot of those might be here as well. I'm curious. So think about that. Let me know if there's any GMOs that we commonly consume here in Korea. I would like to know. So, and I'm going to continue the 80s new wave playlist theme we've got going on here today. Let's take a quick song break. This is It's My Life by Talk Talk, and then we'll be back with Tomorrow Today. All right, welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard It's My Life by Talk Talk, continuing the new wave 80s theme we got going on today. I love it. The second hour, we've got a lot of new wave 80s music for you. And so we were just talking before about, commonly genetically modified organisms, or specifically foods in this case that we eat, and especially plants, vegetables, fruit, and I see a lot of discussion going on there in the chat on the tube there. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Yes, it is a happy Tuesday. I'm kind of enjoying the weird weather we've got. I don't know. It's a little muggy, but it's not that hot yet here in Busan. I hope it's not that hot wherever you're at as well. So yeah, just a couple comments I wanted to mention. Because people do really like to know what they're eating, I think, in a lot of cases. And so we've been talking today about the idea of genetically modified foods and crops, and are you comfortable with eating them or you're not? And there are different rules depending on where you live. I know, I think the EU or the European Union is typically a little bit more strict with that, and I think Ben can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think largely Korea might be a little strict with that as well, whereas from what I understand, the United States is more kind of anything goes. And people do kind of get, I guess, upset and sometimes when their food has changed in certain drastic ways that they were maybe unaware of, and then they're suddenly informed, and then they're like, what? I didn't know that. So why do they do this in a lot of cases? Well, one reason, as was mentioned in the chat, so we were talking about canola oil and canola as a plant earlier. And one reason they changed that, as Ben says in the chat there, is that the original plant was called rapeseed, which is an unfortunate name, but rapeseed oil was too bitter, so they wanted to make it more palatable. In other words, more delicious. Let me try words that I know. So canola was created from the original plant, and you can actually see that plant. There's I can't remember what the name of the plant is. It's yellow flowers, and it blooms in Korea here. Oh, I want to say like late summer. There's like even a festival. But so, yeah, canola was developed to be more delicious, and people largely bought into it. Canola oil is very successful. It's something that's used for cooking a lot in the United States and Canada, and I assume other places as well. So the reason I was thinking about all of this is, in Tomorrow Today, I wanted to talk about gene-edited salad greens, and those are coming to the U.S. stores this fall. And basically what happens is a startup in the U.S., they wanted to start selling salad that people will eat. And so what they have is mustard greens. I don't know if you're familiar with mustard greens. They're very kind of sharp and pungent tasting, and they wanted to adjust the flavor of them so people will eat them more. Well, why? Why not just, convince people to eat lettuce? Lettuce is pretty neutral tasting already, right? Why not just have people eat lettuce more? Well, one reason is because mustard greens have a really high nutritional value, like kale. If you're not familiar with kale is also big in the U.S., and I think big in Korea now too. I don't remember it being that big when I first got here, but kale has been something I've constantly seen in stores for, I would say, the past at least 5 years. So it's kind of this trend of eating more healthy, health-conscious food. So this startup in the U.S., they did a trial, and most consumers actually probably didn't get to try it. The company introduced these genetically edited mustard greens to the food service industry, some select restaurants, cafeterias, hotels, retirement centers, caterers, and one single grocery store in New York City as kind of a test. And how did they genetically edit mustard greens, you might be asking? They used a DNA editing technology called CRISPR. So it almost sounds like something you would find in your refrigerator, right? That's where you keep the food, right? You keep it in the CRISPR. Well, this is CRISPR, and this is a gene editing technology that has been used in a lot of cases to fight against disease in certain kinds of plants, animals, not that I'm aware of yet. But this is a new technology that's being used for this particular reason. And the idea is, they want to get people into eating healthier food, because you almost have to trick people into eating things that taste good. In other words, if you're just eat more greens, look at all these delicious greens in front of me, a lot of people are going to be like, no, I don't like it. And they're like, okay, well, this is a new version of that. It's healthy for you, but it still tastes good. We promise. So this is the idea. They actually did take these mustard greens to farmers markets to taste test them and explain to shoppers that they were made with gene editing. And they said the tasters were generally positive about them. And this is according to the company CEO. So probably, of course, he wants to say that. But the company said they're now turning their attention after the successful test with the mustard greens. They want to develop pitless cherries and seedless blackberries. And the CEO, Tom Adams, of this startup, he says they see their role in the food chain as inventing new products. My question to you, do we need pitless cherries? In other words, do we need the cherry that doesn't have the seed in it? Is there any purpose for that? I know that cherries, the seeds in cherries actually can be toxic. That is an issue. So you don't want to eat those cherries, right? I think they have, what's that poison? There's some kind of poison, I think. I'll look it up. But also blackberries without seeds, is it that big a deal? Well, okay. So they think there's a market for this. And they said that actually the first CRISPR-edited food available to consumers is actually already debuted in Japan in 2021. So this is happening in Asia already. There was a Tokyo-based startup that began selling a tomato with high levels of gamma, I believe. That it looks like a Y, but it's not a Y. It's aminobutyric acid, or GABA, the easier way to say it. And that's a chemical that's actually made in the brain and also found naturally in some foods. So they genetically modified or edited this tomato to have higher levels of that chemical. And that the company claims that if you eat that tomato, this higher level of GABA can help lower blood pressure and also promote relaxation. So instead of perhaps a cocktail after work, you just bite into one of these tomatoes and chill out on the sofa, I guess is the idea. Okay, cool. So there's a whole lot of different reasons these companies are aiming to develop these foods. Well, obviously, one of them is to get people to eat healthier foods, but also another one seems to be out of convenience. Is it that big a pain to spit out cherry seeds? I don't know. Is that a big deal? I don't mind it. I kind of enjoy that aspect of eating cherries. I kind of like bite them and spit the seeds right out. I enjoy it. But yeah, I'm curious. Is this going to take off in Korea as well? And they actually do say that these mustard greens and this high GABA tomato aren't exactly genetically modified organisms or GMOs in the traditional sense, because GMOs are crops that contain added genetic material from a different species entirely. So this is where you have one species and making something completely new, I guess. Whereas in this case, when they talk about gene editing, they're modifying the organism's own DNA. So does that make it better, more acceptable in any case? Not sure. So interesting, very interesting stuff going on. I'm curious to see how that will play out here in Korea. And I'm curious on your take as well. Do we need pitless cherries? Think about that. Send me a message. We're going to take a quick song break, continuing with the 80s theme here. I'm going to be 500 Miles by the Proclaimers, and we'll be back with the perfect playlist. All right, that was I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles by the Proclaimers, another 1980s classic. I'm enjoying all of those today. And I did want to clarify really quick because I like to give out health information that's accurate. Lee Kelly chiming in with the guess that toxin answer. Is it arsenic that cherries have? No, it turns out I was thinking arsenic originally too, but it turns out inside the cherry pits is cyanide, which is also something you don't want to ingest. If you accidentally swallow one, they say it's fine, it'll pass through, but don't chew on it. It's not a good idea to chew on the cherry pits, so they are best to be spit out. So I definitely appreciate all of the comments and the feedback. I know everybody cares about food. I'm looking for Ben Nim mentioning whether there's any ramyun, for example, Korean-made ramyun that doesn't have palm oil. Palm oil is something that people are concerned about these days. Perhaps not for the health effects, but I think for the environmental effects. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But yeah, so obviously food's something we deeply care about. So thanks for all your comments. I'm sorry I didn't have time to get to all of them, but now it is time for our perfect playlist for today. Our theme has been songs about sunrise this week. Our first song, and I'm very excited by these two artists. These are not from the 80s, by the way. These are some artists from the 90s and beyond. And the first song about sunrise for today is Beyond the Sunrise by Belle and Sebastian. And typical of Belle and Sebastian, this is another dreamy and kind of wistful indie pop song. It's bittersweet, and it captures the beauty of life's transitions. It has a delicate and ethereal melody, which is kind of typical of Belle and Sebastian. And Stuart Murdoch's gentle and tender vocals. He's got lyrics about the passage of time, the inevitability of change. And the song has definitely got an introspective tone that invites listeners to reflect on the fleeting nature of life and the power of memory and nostalgia. So Beyond the Sunrise is a poignant and heartfelt song that celebrates the life, the joys, the sorrows of human experience, and the enduring power of love and connection. Oh, that's a lot packed into one song. Our second song today, also for our sunrise theme, is Sunrise, a song called Sunrise by Mark Lanegan. If you're not familiar, the lead vocalist of Screaming Trees, also quite often performed with Queens of the Stone Age. This is typical of Mark Lanegan. It's haunting, it's atmospheric, it's a rock ballad, and explores the themes of loss, regret, and redemption. It's a very simple and melancholic guitar riff, but it's Lanegan's vocals probably that you'll remember. He has a very distinctive voice, a lot of emotion, and his lyrics deal with the weight of the past and the hope of a new day. This song has a somber and introspective tone, but it invites listeners to reflect on the complexities of the human experience, and it has a message of resilience and the power of hope that is sure to resonate with anybody who's a fan of Mark Lanegan. So Sunrise is definitely a raw and emotional song I hope you enjoy. So first up, we've got Beyond Sunrise by Belle and Sebastian, followed by Sunrise by Mark Lanegan. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. And that was, of course, Sunrise by Mark Lanigan. And before that was Beyond the Sunrise by Belle and Sebastian. I hope you enjoyed our perfect playlist for today. And, of course, we'll have that again tomorrow. And thanks again for all your messages. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of them, but we're out of time for today on the 2 p.m. Reboot. I hope you have enjoyed the show. I have enjoyed the lively discussion about food. I love talking about food. And who knows, maybe we can talk about food a little tomorrow. We'll be back at 2:05 p.m. tomorrow, of course, to Reboot. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. And, of course, stay tuned for 4 Year Busan. We'll play one more song for you, right? Of course. The last song for today is going to be True by Spandau Ballet.